I'm a towering 5'1", so we're gonna need to just adjust a little bit here. So, who out there remembers Mary Tyler Moore? Remember Mary Tyler Moore? I was 5, living in Minneapolis, and the Mary Tyler Moore show was on TV, and it was the first time a single woman professional was on primetime television. She was the star, and I loved her. Oh, Mary. I wanted to be Mary, working in a newsroom, throwing her hat up in downtown Minneapolis. She was magical to me. Mary had it all, just like the song said, and she was a trailblazer. At that time in America, most professional women worked in nursing, education, or secretarial roles. Less than 5% of businesses were owned by women. Perhaps because before 1974, women couldn't borrow money without having a man as a co-signer. 1974. As a girl, I was sheltered from what was happening in the early 70s surrounding women's rights. We moved to take over the family farm, and my life became 120 acres and a 100-student rural school. But we did get 3 TV stations, and one of those stations featured Connie Chung. Remember Connie Chung? I was about 10 or so when Connie Chung became the first woman to ever hold a position of evening anchor on a major network, albeit next to Dan Rather. I wanted to be Connie Chung. So as a 4-H kid, I competed in public speaking, wrote stories for fun, and used Linda Weiss's camera to enter photos into the Winona County Fair. Linda was a photojournalist for a local newspaper and someone I also admired. When it was time to go to college, I looked for a solid media market, and I picked Green Bay. Why not? A couple of TV stations, 2 dealing newspapers at the time, many radio stations, and I selected St. Norbert as my home for 4 years. Somewhere in my college experience, I determined, however, that the lifestyle of a woman in front of the camera was not quite right for me. I heard about how women were treated, and I didn't like what I heard. So public relations and marketing became my path, first in Madison and then in Minneapolis. By that time, in the mid-1990s, 26% of US businesses were owned by women. And while I did have some early career situations where I became aware that women were advancing in business ownership, I kept moving and advancing in my own career, earning my master's degree, and found that I had many male role models who believed in me. I also had strong women bosses who were at the highest ranks of their profession. I enjoyed working with them, and I must confess, I wanted their offices, not my cubicle. It was 2002, and I was newly married to Jeff, and we bought our first house in Minneapolis when St. Norbert College offered me an incredible opportunity to come back to Green Bay and to lead the marketing communications division and to promote the college. We said yes. And that career step was an exciting opportunity, but it was also the first time I knew that my age and my gender was a thing. And those things could be a problem for some people. I needed to develop coping and navigational skills if I was to succeed. I needed to find my pockets of trust and shore up my own professional fortitude to cut it, and to prove that those things were actually assets, not liabilities. For over a decade, I helped promote my alma mater, and that's when my 2 amazing children, Patrick and Lily, came along. And it was finally during that time, about 2009, when the Ledbetter Fair Pay Act became law and bolstered worker protections against pay discrimination. No longer was a woman to be paid less for the same job as her male colleagues in America. It took us until 2009 for that to be law. During those years, I loved working at St. Norbert. I held 5 different roles, of which I reported to 5 different men. Most of them were great, but didn't really know what to do with me, except the first one, Donald Solomon. He wrote me encouraging notes. One specifically challenged me to begin a plan to run for governor. Can you believe having a boss who believes so much in you that he's encouraging you to think beyond anything that you ever thought was possible for yourself? For those of you out there who are managing teams, I encourage you to take a lesson from Don. Start writing. And Don, you know that I'm never going to run for governor, but I thank you for your belief in me then and your belief in me now. It was about that time that I also had an interaction with past ATHENA recipient Dee Gertz-Bankston and Bev Carmichael. Both worked with me and asked if I'd facilitate a retreat for a group I hadn't heard of, the Women's Fund. But I said yes. I had no idea then that Diane Roundy had turned to the ATHENA women to launch Green Bay's Women's Fund to help raise dollars to support women and girls. But after that retreat, I served on the marketing committee and then the board, and the women who met there became my friends, my support, even clients. I'm honored many are here tonight and have found that they have repeatedly given me inspiration and motivation. Thank you, my friends. In 2012, when I chose to step into business ownership, it was a leap of faith. The stats were against me. Most businesses don't make it 5 years, they said to me. Hope you like eating ramen noodles, one local executive said. I could never do it, many would say. That first year I promised myself no overhead, no rent, no employees. I just needed to see if I could make it. And at that moment, we now had about 40% of businesses in America were owned by women. But 80-some% of those businesses were solopreneurs. So individual women who chose to start a business but not add staff. Why? Risk, balance, funding? These are questions we should ask, but after a year, I knew for me that it was time to build a team. And now, 10 years later, our O'Connor Connective team has worked with dozens of organizations and their leaders to fulfill their vision. Our mission at O'Connor Connective is to offer strategy that communicates for community-minded leaders in their organizations. Our vision is to be the partner of choice in the advancement of communities. Those are the words that our team helped create. They chose those words, to be the partner of choice in helping advance this community. We offer marketing and branding communication services, but our passion is helping improve the region. One of the areas our community impact work is focused on at O'Connor Connective is advancing women leaders. And we're really, really proud to have collaborated with UW Green Bay in helping launch the Institute for Women's Leadership. Leadership is leadership, I've been told. Why do we need things for women, not just for everyone, I've been asked. Well, I don't believe leadership is the same for everyone. Research shows us that most people, regardless of gender or ethnicity, think of white males and male styles as the ideal for leadership. So that's our starting point. How do we show up as leaders? These are a few of the things that women as leaders think about every day. What do we need to wear so it's not too much, too little, just right? How is our voice? Is it too high, too shrill, or just right? How will we handle pregnancy at work, maternity leave, returning to work, nursing, childcare, when to call our kids, pick up our kids, get in touch, get our kids out the door, get to the doctor with our kids? What about what to say when someone says something inappropriate to us? How can we be firm without being perceived as aggressive? Or how do we negotiate and still be seen as nice? Our leadership experiences challenge us to be Goldilocks, but folks, you know Goldilocks isn't real. We have to be just right, not too much, in the right place. These things impact how we show up and how we lead. And that's why I serve as the executive of residence of the Institute for Women's Leadership at UWGB. We're working to help prepare women and help them have their posse around them to be their best. It's why we're conducting research to see what they need, what their organizations want, and how we can help. So check it out. Take a look at the Institute for Women's Leadership on the website at UWGB and think about how you might become a part of what's happening here. We all know diverse leadership teams help improve our bottom line, so if nothing less, let's commit to equity for women here in northeastern Wisconsin to further enhance our economy. Because as of 2018, only 22% of C-suite positions are held by women. And only 17% of seats on boards of directors of Wisconsin's largest public companies and 16% of private companies are women. Yet we're nearly half of the workforce. Let's keep working so that the playing field is just as level for both Patrick and Lily and all of your children and grandchildren. So thank you for letting me talk through some of those things that I think are really important for us as a community to know, to understand, and then to be able to help lift up women in their professional pursuits. It takes all of us. Thank you, Greater Green Bay Chamber, for this opportunity. You've been so good to me and to O'Connor Connective, and all past ATHENAs for whom I greatly admire. Thank you for this meaningful award. And thank you, Team O'Connor. That includes my husband, Jeff, who has stuck with my crazy ideas for 25 years, my kids who have shared me with this community, my mentors, family, and friends who buoy me when I need it most, for Mary Beth Matasic for your nomination, and for the best damn team anybody could ever ask for. O'Connor Connective, all of you are incredibly talented, and you make magic happen every day for this region. Thank you for what you do. I accept this award on behalf of Team O'Connor in recognition that we're on the right path with the encouragement to stay the course, as we have much more to do as we launch into our next decade. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening.